Welcome back to Sunrise Daily, continuing our focus on what we need to do to reflect the economy. We're joined now by Dr. Kalu, Idika Kalu, who is a former Minister of Finance. Thank you for coming on this morning, sir.
Thank you, my pleasure. With you again.
Well, focusing on what we need to do, I mean, the Minister painted a picture. I mean, borrowing to pay salaries, certainly not what we should be doing at this stage. You also spoken about this one, but from some of the explanations she gave, I was trying to see how we could get away from that. We need to, as fast as we can, shouldn't we?
Well, I'm not in government, so I'm not obliged to agree or disagree in so many words, but I want to emphasize one fact. For starters, and I think for you in the media, it's very, very important that we put this up front when we're discussing the management of the economy. Nothing can happen in the economy if there is insecurity. I want to hear this emphasized a little bit more. What is the role of government to secure the environment in which we are implementing whatever policies, whether to reflate or to grow your food or to get your job sector going to accommodate the growing labor force and so on. People out there are very concerned about security in every part of the country. So I think we should really be putting that up front. It's so terribly important. Now, it's not as distinct from discussing economic policy as you might think, because the rating of the country, the ability of the economy to access resources, either in terms of remittances, in terms of portfolio investment, or direct investment, or in fact where people are able to put some trust in your ability to manage borrowed funds. All of this impinge on the level of security. And we should not presume to discuss anything without re-emphasizing the primary function of government to secure the economy, to secure the, well, I mean, look at what's happening on the borders where there's oil theft or the leakages across the porous borders we have just about everywhere, on the east, in the north, in the west, and certainly on the west, on the southern side. So I think we should put a lot of weight so that this is continuously being discussed. The federal government and explicitly the defense forces, the role of the governors as chief security officers, the specific allocations that have been provided to accomplish the task of securing the environment for the farmers, for the marketers, for those who distribute, for those who transport goods. You know, the more you think about it, the more you realize that this is a very important thing that we seem to just subsume when we are discussing economic policy. Securing the plants, for instance, the refineries, the power stations, and so on and so forth. All of this have to do with security. And I think we are not really giving as much emphasis as we ought to give it.
Government has been speaking a lot in that regard recently. I mean, we've seen some clashes between herdsmen, farmers. We've seen kidnappings. We've seen theft, oil theft, as it were. And government has been making statements in that regard. In some areas, we've seen action too. Do you feel reassured by some of the things that government has said?
Not at all. I was going to say, yes, you are right. They've been making statements. But you know, to give you an example, look at the recent discussion. We don't even know who are involved. Are these the Boko Haram? Are these herdsmen who've been living with these communities for ages? We can't even identify who they are. That tells you how much we are on ground. The federal government should come forcefully to reassure the people. You need to know who are involved. We don't even know who are involved. If we don't know whether these are Boko Haram, we don't know whether they are the traditional herdsmen, how do you guard against this? How do you stop it? So yes, you're right. A lot of statements, not enough statements really. We really expect the federal government, particularly the president and the heads of the armed services, to come out and reassure people This is what has happened, as speedily as possible. That's what every country will do. You come out and make a very clear statement as to who are involved, what you want to do, what's involved, but so much has been vaguely left to just speculations. And Nigerians, we carry all kinds of rumors. Everybody has his own ideas as to what is involved and the extent to which the involvement is. So that is one good indication that it's been mostly statements, but not quick investigations. Even when we're talking about all the corruption things, people are expecting more concrete, like it was mentioned in the course of your last discussion. People want to know what is happening. The whole idea of freedom of information, you don't have to be filing for it before you get the information. It should be routine through the federal ministry, through the various agencies to come out openly and let the people know. You see, those reassurances directly impinge on your ability to save, your ability to move around, to dispense with your economic activities. So we should not underestimate the importance of these kinds of information and the need to show that the various governments, federal, state, local governments, are able to secure the area in which their people operate in.
You did listen to the Minister for Finance,
yes.
And you heard some of the things that she had to say on their plans for the economy. Are you confident that the economy will be able to, come back on track?
Well, you see, we've always been rather lucky from our initial conditions, like she mentioned, in terms of the sheer size of the economy. By the way, the government is a small employer. Most people are really not being employed by government. It's a very small ratio of the labor force that's employed by government. That is why it's so important that you get the economic indicators right, the macroeconomy as we call it, so that the individual shoemaker or little worker, small farmer, artisans, and so on and so forth, have a clear idea of the relative stability of the economic indicators they have to deal with. I mean, of course, they don't look at it in terms of savings rate or investment rate. They look at it in terms of price stability, exchange rate stability, relative stability in the structure of taxes and tariffs and so on and so forth. These are the things that actually they work with without having to be profound economists or financial analysts. And this is where I think the government has got it very wrong. I mean, the write-up on all the, it's quite unconscionable that we've not been able to take control of the macroeconomy. The exchange rate question is upside down. We should really have been moving in the opposite direction. Why? Because this government, quite rightly, I think, came in with a lot of enthusiasm by Nigerians and by non-Nigerians. What that means is that you are able to mobilize resources to complement your own resources. As I already indicated, whether you are talking in terms of accessing medium and long-term financing for infrastructure, creating an environment in which you can float your financial instruments and mobilize what you want at appropriate rates. For a country like Nigeria, because of our resource base and the known potential of our economy, we really should have mobilized all this goodwill. We've lost a lot of that goodwill, but it's not totally lost. But we are in danger of losing all that goodwill. All this goodwill should translate into resource flows.
You know what
all we hear is that people are withholding because they are not sure in which direction we are going.